sheep farming and never lost this fortune. The Spencer men have their earlship, but it's the Spencer women who have made headlines over the years. While Diana is the most famous of the Spencers, she descended from other fascinating sister also attended this school. It was Diana's first time out of the country and on an airplane. It was around this time that she first met Prince Charles, who was then dating her sister Sarah. Diana had a number of passions outside of school. She was a swimmer, a skier, a tennis player, and a pianist. Above all, though, she wanted to become a ballerina. However, at 5'10", she struggled to pursue the career. She studied at the Vasani Dance School for a month to become a dance teacher, but simply put, becoming a dance teacher was not her passion. Dancing was. Whenever she was feeling stressed, Diana would dance. Diana became a daily swimmer to help alleviate stress. She would swim up to 30 lengths of breaststroke and backstroke at the Buckingham Palace pool every morning around 7 a.m. She maintained her daily schedule even into adulthood while she was traveling as a member of the royal family. Between 18 and 19 years old, Diana was known as a trust fund Cinderella, drifting through temporary work, low stress, undemanding jobs that drew on her agreeable demeanor. She had odd jobs like babysitting, which she earned £5 an hour for, cleaning houses, serving appetizers at cocktail parties, and working as a kindergarten teacher. It was a normal part of life as what they called a Sloane Ranger, a term used for a fashionable upper-class woman who lived and socialized around West London. It was known that you didn't depend on your job for either money or status. Her family gave her an inheritance and she didn't have any financial worries, but she worked to fit in. One of her most notable jobs was as a babysitter for the child of an American businesswoman, Mary Robertson. Mary said, "I just fell in love with her. She was wonderful with my child. She didn't know that her babysitter was a part of the landed gentry until she accidentally left a card behind that said Lady Diana Spencer." According to Mary, she and Diana joked about her marrying Prince Charles. In her book that she later wrote, she says that she was worried that Diana's infatuation with Charles was based on her romantic image of him, but not the man himself. When 19-year-old Lady Diana Spencer was introduced to the public as Prince Charles's intended wife, the press promptly nicknamed her Shy Di, but there was nothing shy about her. Queen Elizabeth's II former press secretary, Dickie Arbiter, said if she kept her head down while talking, it's only because she was so much taller than most people, and her brother agrees that she was never a shy person. Throughout her childhood, Diana didn't have her sisters were away at school for most of Diana's childhood. Again, in a recording, Diana recalled their growing up was done out of our sight. We saw them during the holidays, and I don't remember it being a big thing. Diana was said to have worshipped her older sister Sarah from afar. As the sisters grew older, literal